Hi, I'm Marcus Giamatti, and I'm an associate professor of acting and directing and the head of directing here at Temple University. It's a very good question because instinct ultimately is what makes you viable as an artist. And in order to trust your instinct, you have to be confident in who you are, how you see things, why you want to do things, tell certain stories, why you see characters a certain way from your own unique experience and your own unique point of view, because that's what makes you really viable as an artist on the outside. And then there's all kinds of other things that, go into it about technique and stuff like that. But that's really what makes it, I think, knowing who you are and being confident in that. And in training programs and in schools, that's hopefully what we're helping you find the confidence in, so that with each step that you move on to the next level of training or going out into the real world, that you're more confident in who you are and in your choices, and you trust ultimately your instincts. Well, it's obviously been a tremendous turning of everything upside down, from the way that we teach, from the way that you guys learn, and it's really challenging, sort of in the art form that we do, because it's so personal and so reactive and so emotional, and also conditioned ultimately when you're performing on having that energy of an audience, especially for theater. And I think that moving forward, this is going to change it, the way it's taught, a lot. But I still think ultimately at the root of it all, the fundamentals and the technical principles of what get the craft of acting are still there and still able to be taught in this sort of limited environment, in this box. And that's where it kind of bridges over a little bit into film and cinematic acting, which I think can both help the theater actor relax and understand who they're seeing and where they are and what they need and all of those things. But I still think you can work on that a lot, because those principles of commitment to the moment are still the same, and you can still work on that. Performatively, it gets tougher, and I think the theater is going to be changed, certainly in the near future, for the way it is, just because of not being able to have audiences and the social distancing and having people together. But I think eventually it will get back to normal. But for now, it's new ways of reinventing this whole way of doing things on Zoom, and it's imperfect, and it's hard, and it's challenging, and it's not nearly as satisfying. But you look at it sort of in the bigger philosophical picture of things, that's the way the business is. It is an imperfect art form. There is always something in your lifestyle choice as an artist that comes along that's going to pull the rug out from under your feet every week, every month, every year. It's so conditioned on the random of the arbitrary things that can happen, that, in a strange way, it's interesting practice. If you can find a way to maintain your integrity and your soul in this, then you can do it and learn great lessons from it when it's not like this. um, I think, and I really strongly believe that this is still a possibility for an artistic escape hatch for all of us. We have this. This is the way it is. We have that. We're lucky to have some sort of an outlet, whereas others who are in this pandemic have none of that. And perhaps we can take our pain and our misery and our confusion and all of it, and give it some kind of purpose still. So I think it's possible, if that makes any sense. Whatever. Yeah, that's the hardest question to answer in one way, because it's always such a mystery, because your expectation of the way things are going to go, both positively and negatively, are never the way it will turn out. It's never linear in that sort of sense. So you just don't know. You have to live constantly in the state of possibility. You have to find, most importantly, when you do get out on the other side of the fence, so to speak, how to stay creative. But in your time now, you need to find some way, I think, and this is from just my experience and my opinion as an actor. And if you ask another actor, or they'll have a different way of thinking at it. You need to craft some kind of specific approach, and it's hard to know that. You kind of have to sort of learn how to self-rehearse, self-approach, whatever helps you specifically to be able to prepare. Because that's so much of it. And that can also be flexible and malleable too as it goes along. But that's one thing I look back on, that I learned how to make technical choices when I was in school. And then I got out and I kind of lost my way on all that. And you become more result oriented, or more concerned about why you're going to get something or why you're not going to get something, and all of that. And you need to pull it back to remembering a specific approach, because that helps you sort of ground it, and your work sort of becomes your friend in that sense. That's just one thing. That question is a whole symposium in itself. But I think that you craft some kind of a specific approach. And again, go back to the first question, which is like, you need to learn to trust your instincts. You need to keep an open mind. You need to live in possibility. And the toughest thing out there when you're working to being a professional is how to stay creative when you've had so much in school that has been stimulating, both the positive and the negative. It's always there. And then all of a sudden, when that isn't there, what do you do to stay creative so you don't, so it doesn't become it doesn't affect your life? That's the biggest challenge. The one thing I enjoy the most about teaching in general and teaching at Temple is the students. You guys, the students, are constant source of inspiration. And I always say this, you guys are the inspiration. I get so much from watching and helping and seeing students spread their wings and improve and grow and question and tap into and feel free and discover that sense of themselves. That's inspiring to me. That gives back to me as an artist. That reminds me, you guys remind me of why I wanted to do it in the first place. And as a professional, after many, many, many years, or not even that many years, after a while, you lose the reason why you wanted to do this. And I think it's fundamentally always important to be tapping back into or remembering why. It's easy to lose your way. That's one of the things I love the most about teaching. And also that sense of being able to say, hey, here's something from my experience that I hope I can impart to you and help you with, to demystify the whole conundrum a little bit. And that I feel is a duty of mine after everything I went through as an artist, that I can go, okay, here, I wish that someone who had been, a serious professional had been able to tell me at least sort of a framework of what could and couldn't happen, and what's important and what's important to keep your eye on all the time. And I think that on the other side of what I've learned here at Temple is I was not someone who was ever, a lifetime academic. I've been a lifetime actor. So I have learned a lot about how that works, and how you work and integrate yourself as part of an ensemble from the academic side, and what's really valuable about what you're teaching and how you teach and how you treat people and how you create a sense of belonging in your classrooms or in your work in whatever you do. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for those who've been doing this for a long time. My parents are both academics, and I get now a lot more about the importance of what they did and how much teaching is really such an instinctive sort of art form that I hadn't really realized as much before. And I say that in a positive sense. People in the academic world, from Pace University and a couple of the other places that were there, Fordham and a whole bunch of places. I was honored to have been there with people who have been doing that aspect of it from the academic side for quite a long time. And I also felt it was a great opportunity for Temple to be at the table with all of these people. And that was really important for me to say, hey, we're here. You know, we have this, we are here, we have this artistic integrity, we are working at it here too. And we're sort of in a, you know, in the directing program, we're in a place of reassembling it, reimagining it, putting it all back together again, because it had been dormant for a while. And that's challenging. And also at the same time, incredibly exciting to be able to be offered the opportunity and given the trust to be able to rebuild that. And it takes time. You know, it takes time to change things, but what can we constantly be doing to make things a little bit better every day? So that opportunity was cool. And to sit at the table with these people was absolutely amazing, because listening to them talk about what they're doing in their programs that are further ahead than us right now, and all the opportunities and possibilities of all the different kinds of classes they have going, was really inspiring and gave me a lot of great ideas. And again, they have different kinds of resources, different kinds of teacher hiring possibilities that we're finding our way in here still, and that's okay. But I found it really interesting, and the thing I found really interesting is that I come at everything from the experience of being a full-on artist my entire life for 35 years. So I'm always trying to look at the artistic side of things as well as learning the academic things that we need to. And I think it was a good place for me, sort of in representation of Temple, to say what we feel is really important here, how we want to reimagine things always is like, we want to know why you want to be a storyteller. What is important to you, the budding and aspiring director, about telling a story? What is the vision of that story, both, you know, scenically, lighting, but what is it, why, what is it important about that story? And what is it, sort of the social significance in it? And how do you, just as the acting, how do you see that story? And why is that important? Not how you think someone else should see it. And we want to try to empower more people to feel like they want to tell stories. Yeah, directing isn't the most, it's not the most glamorous thing in the world. And I think people feel like they've always got to know exactly what they're doing in order to be a director. And no, it's the same thing. You want to have the understanding of how you put all the pieces together and approach it like that. So, and I think that I want to empower more people, both women and minorities, to feel empowered to be leaders. And that's important. And I think that what I'm trying to look at on the ground about redeveloping and putting things back together for a directing department is that same understanding of craft, vision, and how we develop the leadership, and kind of integrating that into it and creating more opportunities for people and giving people more chances to try it. Because I think with directing, the only way to really learn how to do it is to do it. And that could be said and true with a lot of things, but I think that that's important. So we're trying to develop more classes that are more content based on, like, how do we approach the heightened text? What do we look at when we're looking at the works of, you know, Chekhov, and about sort of integrating the 5 questions into how you would direct. And then there's other people here that we're trying to work on more from a visual standpoint and things like that. So that's kind of like where we're at with it. You know, I think that when you're younger too, and there's so much wonderful energy, and so I would say I got to enjoy it for what it is, for the ability to be able to do it and love it, and not worry so much about where it was going to go or lead me or any of that kind of stuff. Because I think if I had fundamentally understood that the success is the work, the success is about how you feel about yourself, that if I had truly understand that who you are, like I said at the beginning, why you want to do things, how you feel about it is ultimately and is the most important thing. I think it would have freed me up from a lot of feelings of expectation about looking at the results of things, even, career wise. I would have just tried to enjoy it more. And then within that, it's very, very, it's difficult. But in school, that I would have and I did in a lot of ways, but I think I would have understood more about, I don't need to try to be like that person to be successful. I need to be, how do I feel about it? How do I see it? Why do I want to do this? What's valuable I am who I am, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I understand that a lot more now, in everything I do, both as a teacher, but especially as an actor. I just don't, I don't, you know, I, I don't worry about where it's going to go or where it's not going to go. I appreciate the opportunity to do it every time that I have to do it. And I go at it like my life depends on it, and not worried about where it's going to go or where it's not going to go. Because then you blink and 35 years later, you made a living at it. And that's something, and I think that is being an artist.